I want to talk to you about real safety and virtual safety. And you've probably heard that term before, especially if you've been on a BMT course, you'll have heard that term before. So real safety is, it's the stuff that actually works in the field, yeah? So it's going out, it's having conversations, genuine conversations, non-patronizing conversations with the people who are actually at risk. It's supplying them with the right tools and the right materials at the time when they need it. It's giving them the right amount of time to actually do the job. Yeah, those are the things that actually makes a difference. Training them up to fluency. That's real safety. Virtual safety is the things that we judge our success upon. So the bits of paper, the tick boxes, the inspections, sticking people on courses, just counting the number, counting the results, if you like, every month, and believing that we are safe just based on, if you like, a virtual fact. So that's virtual safety, and it's quite different from real safety. And we've gone the wrong way. We've gone down the wrong route at the minute. There was a time when we did have a big, massive push on health and safety, and you've all seen the graphs where the incidents have plummeted down, and then you've all seen the graphs probably where we've now plateaued, yeah? And so behavioural-based safety was the next best thing. But even that has taken us down, I believe, the wrong route with things like observations and near misses and close calls, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Perhaps it was because we were forced into this virtual world by legislative requirements. Okay, so legislation came along and kind of forced us to do something about it. We didn't really want to, so we kind of had to do something about it. We had to create a process and to satisfy legislative needs, if you like. And there was the macho thing that got in the way, so it's not that macho to look after the worker, to kind of put barriers up and we'll just, pretend we can all just get along. But then it got to a stage where it was accepted, so, push hard enough and it became accepted. And we did do some great things, but a lot of those great things were actually from innovations and new techniques and those kind of things. Yes, there was the peer pressure and everybody now wears the PP and all that kind of stuff. But we've now taken it into this place where it's gone down the wrong route. And I think in some companies, it's actually starting to get worse. In the UK, we're sitting roughly around 70 fatalities a year. For the last 4 or 5 years, 70 fatalities in the high-risk industry, so construction and industrial. And yet, we believe that we're getting to a better place. Well, if we're still killing 70 folk, yeah, that's definitely not in a better place. There's no improvement in that at all. But it feels better, it looks better. We've got all these, new programs and stuff. And I think that's part of the mistake as well. We've taken other people's programs and other people's initiatives and tried to plonk them on to our companies, believing that it'll make a difference. So near misses, yeah, we have to... that's the holy grail. We'll bottom of the triangle, if we remove those 300 near misses, we'll stop the fatality. Well, again, research, not just research, history of the last 5 years is showing us that that's not working. We've got the 300 on a lot of sites. A lot of industries now have got the bottom of the triangle sorted, and yet we're still killing people, yeah? So the research, not just research, the history has actually shown us that that's not working. So observations, close calls and near misses, okay? Really heavily pushed in the UK and really heavily pushed across here as well. And this belief that filling out one of these cards will actually make the difference. And the belief that the worker will genuinely fill out this card because there's just been a mandate from head office about, right, we need to fill out these cards now, guys, and this is what's going to make us safer, yeah? And if you look at that card there, can you imagine the worker, standing there? JSA in place. Well, I'm not going to say no. Because, yeah, okay, competent to carry out the task? Well, I'm not going to say I'm not competent to carry out the task, am I? I told you this wasn't funny. Area free from rubbish. Well, I can put up with a little few sweetie papers and stuff around there. Tools and so it's already, it's positively biased, if you like, to use some of the phrases that we've gone on. For him ticking yes. Because the end result is just the same as you do with the iTunes thing. It's just to press the I agree to get to the next stage. And that's what they're doing. And the observation cards that we've created as well, they're still, if you like, they're not natural. They're not a natural thing. Oh, fill out this card. Fill out this card and tell me if something's wrong. Oh, but by the way, we've got a 0 accident target, so you can't have any accidents, but I do want you to tell me when something's wrong. Oh, hang on a minute. Do you want me to tell you if something's wrong or not tell you if something's wrong? I'm not sure. Mixed message. So what's the purpose of these things? Okay, and we asked the question, what's the purpose of the near-miss reporting system that you've got in place? And the question questions that or the answers rather, we get back are, well, it's the spot trends. Well, that'd be great if that was true. 300 near misses, and I'm trying to spot trends through 300 near misses. It's now just too much data to look at. Yeah. And actually, when you look at the stuff that's happening, 95% of those near misses are something that you could have predicted anyway, and not anything out of the norm. Yeah. So you could have just sat down in your office and just written a list of 300 near misses, and they would have been the same, more or less, probably, as the ones you were having already. To reduce serious incidents. Okay, that's another thing that we hear, that we do this to reduce serious incidents, Heinrich's triangle. Well, we spoke about that last time. It's not, Heinrich himself said that it's only correlation, it's not causation. Okay? There's a correlation between the 300 and the 1, but there's no causation. He said that himself, and yet we've taken it and twisted it and made it into something different. To increase awareness. Okay, so it could increase awareness. We're definitely talking about health and safety, with near misses and observation cards. So it could possibly increase awareness if it's done in the correct way, if it's not done patronizing, and it's not just a, you must fill this out now. And to improve safety ultimately, of course. It might do, but where's the evidence that it actually has done? There's one test that you can do if you do have observation cards and near misses. You can look at the stats that you get over the month. Okay. Now, if you get a big spike just towards the end of the month, just before the progress report goes in, then you know that it's not really the right thing that's happening. Because what happens is people look, oh, we haven't got enough near misses reported this month because we've worked out how many we should have according to the triangle, and we'll have a push in them. So we send an email out, we send a communication out to the director, to the supervisors, say we need more near misses reported. So what do? They go out and fill more near misses in. Yeah, they go out and fill the card in. So what do you really want? Do you really want somebody to be actually filling out a card? Or do you want something else? Yeah? And what is this we really want from near miss reporting and for observations? Well, what we really really want is for the worker to be stopping doing something that's unsafe. Okay? But that is actually motherhood and apple pie as well. Because actually asking an individual to stop when he sees something that's slightly unsafe, that there's so much reinforcement for him carrying on the task, is like sticking a pint of your best IPA that you have in America, which is really good stuff. Yeah? What's that? Anti-hero. We call it anti-hero. Right? Sticking a can of anti-hero in front of an alcoholic and saying, don't drink it. Sticking a task in front of a worker and saying, stop, is exactly the same. Tasks are addictive. I'm there to do a task. You're paying me to do a job. I'm going to carry on and I'm going to do it, right? Because the risk of injury isn't that great anyway, and it probably won't happen. So don't tell me that I have to say stop. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. It's not a viable thing to say. I share a story with you of a fatality that happened in the UK. This is the headline from the newspaper just after the fatality happened. So already it's saying that the worker was possibly at fault here. Yeah, worker in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he was killed. Yeah, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but probably, and yeah, I can say this quite with a bit of authority because we've had some feedback on this. But it's high probability that this worker was in that place where he was killed the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that. It's a definite probability that somebody saw him in that place where he was killed. The day before that, the day before that, the day before that. It's a definite probability that nobody stopped him and pulled him out, and he didn't stop himself either. His supervisor didn't stop him, and his fellow workers didn't stop him from going into the place where he was killed. So he was killed. Now that's bad enough. But imagine if one of his fellow workers had seen him in the area that he wasn't meant to be in and taken out a card and started to fill it in. Yeah, and then the lump of concrete fell on him and killed him while the guy was writing out a near miss card. That was quite possible because that was the culture that the company were pushing. We want near miss cards filled out when you see something wrong. What they definitely weren't pushing, and what they had not tried at all to do, was to coach the workers and coach the supervisors into how to interact with their fellow workers and look after them. The message had got skewed. They'd gone down the wrong way. They'd focused on this thing that other companies were using, believing that it could make a difference, yeah? And forgetting the actual behavior that they really wanted. We try to drive behavior like this. We try and target the individual with all these initiatives, all these things, not even initiatives, all these briefings, a morning briefing, a start of shift briefing, training, job safety assessments, and we target them at the individual. And we say that it's the individual, it's his or her fault if they don't take on board what we've told them. And we've now absolved ourselves of any responsibility, and it's now, in fact, in the UK, and I would imagine it's the same here, there's a legal responsibility on the individual to act safely. So we fire all this stuff at them and then expect them to work safely. And then we get really frustrated when they don't work safely. But behavioral science tells us that this isn't the stuff that drives behavior anyway, that it's this stuff, okay? It's the task, it's their peers, it's their supervisors around them, it's the local environment to them, it's the local environment to you just now that's driving your behavior. Not the training you've been on, not the briefing you had, nothing of that. It's the stuff that happens right in that moment that drives behavior, okay? That's where we need to take it back to. So if that's the stuff that drives behavior, then that's the stuff that's getting us the behavior that we want at the minute, whether that's the right behavior or whether it's the behavior we don't want. So real safety after you have trained the guy to stage of fluency, and after you have trained that person and given them the right tools, the right materials, and the right time to do the job, then that's just the starting point. What you've got to do is then maintain that environment, okay? You've got to get the supervisor to set the expectation that, right, you are my gang, and we are not going to get injured. We are not going to go home injured. We are not going to get injured. We are going to do the right thing, and you are going to tell me if the right thing is happening, and you're going to tell me if the wrong thing is happening as well. That's the expectation I'm setting, and that's what I want from you guys. And he explains why. He explains why it's important that we work as this high-performing team and we look after each other, and why that it's so unlikely that as an individual you will stop and you need your mate to be looking at you, looking after you and watching your back. And if I was to come around to one of your sites, I wouldn't want to trust myself with my own safety. I'd want one of you guys to be pulling me out of the way of the truck. We were walking down the street the other day and he pulled me out of the way of a cab that came out. Yeah, because I was on my bloody phone. But it was, so thanks, Howard. Yeah, I feel a bit stupid, but at least I knew he had my back. That is the kind of thing you're trying to create at work. That's what you want at work, somebody to have your back. Not just on the site, somebody to have your back in the meetings, somebody to be telling you if you've done a poor job, but you want to have a bit of respect there as well, so it doesn't hurt so much, if you like. So the supervisor asks each of his operatives, each of his workers to give examples then. So when did you pull up John for doing something daft? John, did anybody pull you up today for doing something daft? Well, yeah, they did, yeah. Okay, good. Now we're on. And what they think is now, well, he was actually serious when he said that he expected this kind of behavior from us. Because this behavior isn't natural. So the supervisor has to coach and coach and coach this behavior until the workers work for him, believe it is actually the thing that he wants. So the people start to give feedback to the supervisor and to each other. And they go, oh, actually, this is not too bad at all. I could actually do something like this. The supervisor encouraged that person. Great, that's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted, those kind of little bits, yeah? Feedback is wanted and given. Feedback is given and behavior adjusts. And it's repeated and repeated and repeated until it becomes a stage where it's natural, yeah? It's a natural thing to do, high-performing teams. And if you look at any high-performing team out there, that's what they do. Any high-performing team looks after each other because you're only as strong as the weakest player in your team. And you look after them, you watch their back, and you bring them up to the standard that you want as well. So how would you do that in behavioral terms? Well, if you pinpointed the behavior that you want from the operatives, from the workers, the people that are at risk, yeah, you then have to figure out what the antecedent is and what the consequence is, the reinforcing consequence. And that's where the supervisor comes in, yeah. But the supervisor ain't going to do it just because you suggest it. He needs an antecedent and he needs a consequence. Or she needs a consequence, an antecedent. Then the manager comes in, and the manager's got a role to play in coaching the supervisor. And the contracts manager has a role to play in coaching the supervisor as well, or the manager. So it has to start, it has to be produced. Antecedent, consequence, antecedent, consequence, antecedent, consequence. Real safety through local leadership, conversation, and action. That's what we can take it back to, using behavioral science to get rid of the stuff that doesn't work and actually put in place something that does work. Process kills passion. You need to inject some passion back into it. Don't let it kill you or one of your guys. Thank you.